What's up, everybody? It is I, Hero Vange, and welcome to Season 2. We're finally here, guys. We've made it, everybody, we've made it. And we're starting it off with one of, I think, the best cups that Sylph has come out with, the Sinister Cup. I really like the balance in this cup, okay, element-wise, alright? So, yeah, this is my Sinister Cup meta simplified guide. But before we get into all of this, I just want you to know that I am changing the focus of my meta simplified guides. See, in the first season, I focused on the best picks, the best counters, and the side grades so that you have choices, right? In this season, I think that the meta simplified guide is gonna be for primarily figuring out the interactions between the elements, right? These job groups, alright? And also giving you guys ideas for things to focus on, to look for whenever you're doing your simulations, whenever you're testing out certain Pokemon for your team, when you're building your team. Because a lot of the Pokemon in this cup are actually side grades. They have their advantages, disadvantages, and like the little differences between them, right? Actually synergize well with other Pokemon that are also side grades. And so if you're able to synergize your team really well, that's where the gold is, right? So I can't cover all the Pokemon in this graphic here in this very short video, but I can give you ideas on things to look for. And that's actually important feedback that I got from you guys. That's something that I learned from you guys, because whenever I post my meta simplified guys, there's always people commenting about which Pokemon I forgot, which Pokemon I left out and stuff, and then I have to like reply to clarify. And yeah, but interesting thing, funny thing, okay, is that it's usually in one format. Okay. Okay, alright, nice. I see, okay. Surprised you didn't include this Pokemon, and that is the format right there. And it is so funny because I scroll through Reddit, right? I've been scrolling through Reddit because of the Sinister Cup, right? And I see so many posts of like, surprised you didn't include this Pokemon. It is so funny. I feel like people just catch on to the trend, and it is now a trend. Surprised you didn't. But the thing is, I can't. I really physically cannot fit all of those Pokemon here. And so I want you to focus on the interactions. We're gonna talk about how this cup plays. I'm gonna make it very simple for you. And then I'm going to give you some tips, some things that I look for when I look for Pokemon that I want to include in my team. Okay, so let's talk about the elements. This cup is really interesting because with the elements, with the way that the elements are set up, there's like a weird tension, right? Let's talk about it. The weakest element is fighting. It's definitely fighting because there's Psychic and Ghost, okay? And Psychic and Ghost usually, most of the time, beat fighting. Yes? Yes. But the thing is, a fighting type or maybe two is absolutely necessary on your team because the strongest type in the cup is the one that beats the Ghost and the Psychic. It's, well, generally, right? It's Steel, and Steel loses to fighting, the weakest type. So the strongest type loses to the weakest type. That's actually pretty sinister. Interesting. Plus, they banned the dark type Pokemon. That's one. So anything with a dark type in it, not allowed. Okay, so yeah. Mythical Pokemon. Okay, saves you some dust. Skarmory. Alright. I sorta get it. Yes, okay. Hypno. Okay, I mean, usually Hypno is legacy, right? And it's very difficult, and plus he's very powerful, right? So, okay, I get that. Nice, cool. So now we can move on to the interactions, but just to keep everybody on the same page, this is all like one shield scenario because we're talking like generalities here, alright? Alright, so now we can talk about the individual groups, and this is the Ghost group, okay? The Ghost group, very simple. They beat the Psychic types and they beat the fighters. Now, let's talk about Drifblim. And since we're moving on to the individual Pokemon, I want you to look at the pinned comment down below because that's going to be a fantastic source of very important information like movesets, like best IVs. So yeah, check it out. So Drifblim does the job. He's got the Psychics. Yes, he's got the fighters. Yes, but there's some exceptions. There's an exception. We'll talk about it later. Okay? Plus, and this is the thing that I want you to look for in the simulations, right? He is the dominant Pokemon in the group, right? He beats Marowak, he beats Dusclops. That's definitely a plus whenever you're looking for Pokemon to include in your team, right? Can he beat the other Pokemon in the same group? Okay? So yeah. Plus, if you look down there, right, you see like a black arrow. Those are exceptions, okay? So the Steel usually beats the Ghost type, usually. But Drifblim here can actually beat Empoleon, just Empoleon, not Steelix, not Bastiodon. But still, moving on to the number one ghost on PV Poke, Alolan Marowak. And this is gonna show you some contrast, alright? Yes, he does the job. He does the sidekicks. He does the fighters, except for that same exception. We'll talk about it later. Now, let's compare Alolan Marowak to Drifblim. And this is very important, alright? Is he the most dominant in the group? No. Does he have any exceptions, right? No. So it seems like there's nothing special about Marowak other than he's very high rated in PV Poke, right? But the thing is, he is my reference point, and this is very important for you to have whenever you're trying to build your team, right? Have a reference point. Look for the highest highest rated on PV Poke for this archetype, this job, right? And make that your reference point so that you can find something that is better in some ways. Like Drifblim, who is the most dominant, plus has one exception, right? It's very important for you to have this. Plus, if you look into the simulations for Alolan Marowak, he's very solid in what he does, right? He can just double Shadow Ball and do the job, right? So it's also very important for you to have a reference point, and this is something that this graphic can give you. Now you have this reference point so that if you find Pokemon that are more dominant than Drifblim, that have more exceptions than these Pokemon, then that would be fantastic, right? So yes, have a reference point. Alolan Marowak is the solid choice, basically, but nothing much special about him, right? Solid reference point for this group. But does that mean that what I'm saying is Alolan Marowak is trash for this group? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. No, what I'm saying is that Alolan Marowak is a solid choice. He's the staple ghost type. He does the job. But the differences between him and Drifblim, and also him and Dusclops, is going to help you make really good synergies for teams, because the advantages, disadvantages that some other Pokemon have, plus the advantages, disadvantages that these three have, are going to, I guess, help you create a team that kind of like covers each other, alright? So it's not that he's bad, he's trash, he's still a solid choice. He is the solid choice for ghost types, okay? Now, let's talk about another thing that you should look for in the simulations, right? That's exceptions to the rules, right? There are no rules, but the thing is, exceptions to the interactions, right? So generally, Steel beats ghost types. Yes, but Dusclops here kind of like blurs the lines, because he can actually beat Empoleon. He can also beat Steelix. He is my king of exceptions for this group. Let's compare him to Drifblim for a second here, right? Drifblim can beat Empoleon, but the thing is, he has to bait an ominous wind and land a Shadow Ball, right? For it to happen in a solid fashion. The thing is, if you do double ominous wind, you can still do it, but the simulations show you coming out with very, very low HP, like single digit HP. So I think it's pretty iffy, right? But it is possible if you do the bait and then land the Shadow Ball, right? Now, Dusclops here, he just throws straight Shadow Punch. So it's a surer thing. Is that a word? Is that an English word? I hope so. And since he has Fire Punch, right, he can just throw straight Fire Punch at Steelix there and get the KO. So yes, he is the king of exceptions. So that's kind of how you want to test it out in the simulations, right? Do they do the main job? Alright. Are they more dominant compared to Drifblim? Alright, let me see. Do they have more exceptions compared to Dusclops? Okay, so that's kind of like what you look for. Surprised you didn't include Haunter. I'm so sorry. Haunter loses to the psychic types. He loses because he's part poison. That makes him weak to confusion. And yeah, that's just, it's not a good, he disappears. But the thing is, Haunter is very powerful. If you land those balls, right? Those shadow balls on Pokemon, they die, right? So yeah, but confusion, man. I mean, do you want to take the risk? That's up to you. Surprised you didn't include Banette. Well, yes, okay, Banette has nice moveset, right? He has the Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball, plus Thunder. Okay, sure. But it can be like an alternative for Haunter, and plus since it's not part poison, it can handle the psychics. Yes, those are just some alternatives. There's probably more, right? Just test for the things that I mentioned, okay? Now we're moving on to the steel types. And the steel types have a very clear, well-defined interaction with none of the elements. None of them have a clear relationship with the things that they beat, okay? Because there's so many exceptions towards the steel types. As you know, the ghost types, some of them beat the steel types, right? And the psychics, we haven't even talked about the psychics. They have like a back and forth relationship with the steel types. And so, yeah. Actually, I take that back. There's one clear relationship, right? They lose to the fighting types. Okay, let's move on to individual Pokemon. Empoleon is actually pretty good for this cup, even without the community day, okay? I want you to remember the Pokemon that he beats. It's just 4 Pokemon, alright? So, Marowak, Steelix, Bastiodon, and Claydol. Now, Empoleon's strength is that for 2 of his matchups, he does not have to shield. He does not have to throw a charge attack, right? And that's very strong. What 2 Pokemon? Marowak and Bastiodon. So, if you can catch these Pokemon with your Empoleon, that is a golden opportunity. Fantastic opportunity because you can just fast attack away, alright? Take that charge attack, right? Kill that Pokemon and then throw it at the next Pokemon to either kill them or like maim them or get the shield advantage. So, that's gonna be amazing. Now, with Steelix, you can almost do it, guys. Almost. But the thing is, he's got Earthquake, and Earthquake is a one-hit KO, alright? So, yeah, my suggestion is you move count. You move count. If he gets up to an Earthquake and then throws a charge attack, block it. He probably knows what he's doing. If he doesn't get to an Earthquake, let's say he throws a Crunch and you move counted, you're sure. You can take it, do the same thing, fast attack away, store up that energy, throw it at the next Pokemon, okay? So it's still an option. Empoleon can beat Claydol, and that's very important because Claydol can beat both Steelix and Bastiodon. Alright, so that's definitely an important thing. Now, he has to shield once, but if you shield once, you can fast attack Claydol down and get to the next Pokemon, devastate that Pokemon maybe. Plus, you come out with a decent chunk of HP, so yes. Now, Steelix is almost my staple steel type. He's almost there, alright? Almost. But the thing is, Bastiodon is more of a staple steel type compared to Steelix because of one matchup. What is that one matchup? It's Dusclops, alright? Dusclops, we already talked about this, right? Beats Steelix, right? But it can't beat Bastiodon. Bastiodon beats Dusclops, but what does Steelix have? Why is he still here, right? He beats Bastiodon. Okay, so that's one matchup for... It's like a trade. Now, Bastiodon, while being the least dominant, is the most staple steel type, right? Because it can beat the 3 ghosts that I have here, okay? So, yeah, it just does the job the best because Empoleon can't do it, Steelix can't do it, Bastiodon can definitely do it. Now, Steelix and Bastiodon both beat Cresselia, which is nice, okay? They both lose to Claydol, but Empoleon beats Claydol, and they both lose to Gallade. Empoleon ties, but I consider it a loss, right? Why? Because you have to burn 1 shield. He doesn't have to burn 1 shield because you're not gonna get to a charge attack with Empoleon, right? So, yeah, that's kind of like they have a mixed relationship with the psychic types. It's very complicated. One more time, off the top, okay? Steel types versus psychic types, okay? Empoleon loses to Cresselia, beats Claydol, and ties with Gallade, but you have to burn 1 shield to tie. I feel like that's a loss, alright? So, yeah. Steelix and Bastiodon both beat Cresselia and lose to Claydol and Gallade. So, clear? Can you, alright, just try to visualize it. It's difficult if I have like multiple arrows just going back and forth, right? Just it's a back and forth relationship. Very complicated. Surprised you didn't talk about the steel mustache. Robobass. Surprised you didn't talk about Robobass. The thing is, I actually recommend Robobass if you're a beginner, right? Because I understand that grind, guys. I know that grind. Bastiodon is an arm and a leg in Stardust, guys. In Stardust, in Candy, I get it, dude. I totally get it. The thing is, he's not as good as Bastiodon. He still beats these guys, okay? All three. But with Marowak, oh man, it is close. You come out with like single-digit HP. So not as good as Bastiodon, but cheaper version still does it. If you can't afford Bastiodon, if you can't even find a Bastiodon, okay, I definitely recommend, okay, for all the beginners out there. For all the veterans, you probably already have a Bastiodon, better choice, right? But he actually gets pretty close to Gallade, okay? Almost there, single digit. But the thing is, he still loses to Gallade, right? So yeah, he's like Bastiodon, but a cheaper version, okay? So if you don't have Bastiodon, surprise, you didn't talk about Mawile. Now, interesting thing about Mawile is, I'm not sure if it has its back turned towards us and it has its mouth just dangling like a ponytail, or if that's actually it facing towards you and its eyes are just like back there. I'm not sure, right? And also, it's actually pretty interesting, okay, for this cup. It's pretty interesting. The thing is, I wouldn't put it there as a steel type. I would actually take Mawile. I would put it right here with the ghosts. Now, as a steel type, it's actually not that great. You know, the matchups against the ghost types are very iffy. Sometimes IV dependent, sometimes, it's just not a good steel type, alright? But it does shred through the psychic types. Okay, Cresselia, you can just straight fast attack that thing down, no shields, take that charge attack right and kill it, okay? And then Claydol, you do have to shield once, but you can just straight fast attack it down. Gallade, interesting matchup. If you throw a charge attack with Mawile, you lose. But if you just go straight fast attack, block once, you beat it. Okay, so that's how all of those go. But the thing is, it's not as good as the ghost types because it can't beat the fighters, right? So it's kind of like in an awkward position. If I were to place it somewhere here, I would place it right here, right? But again, it's not as good as the ghost type. It's not as good as the other steel types. So it's kind of... Now we're moving on to the fighters. And the fighters, let me tell you, are the most exciting group in this meta. These Pokemon are fantastic for it. Now, I did say that they are the weakest typing wise, but you have to really study the individual matchups and you're gonna see that these guys are just amazing, right? Definitely don't just judge a Pokemon by their typing, but earlier I said that just to make things like simple so that we can understand like the interactions of the elements, right? But yes, the fighters are fantastic. Let's move on to the first one, Medicham, who is the big bad fighter. He's the dominant fighter. He beats the other two. Plus, he has an exception. He can also beat Claydol. Now, the Sims are very specific, right? He gets a power-up punch and then another power-up punch, which Claydol shields, and then he gets an ice punch, which is very specific, right? Very specific. I'm not sure how that really plays out in actual battle, but yeah, it's nice to know that he can beat Claydol. Moving on to the next one, Poliwrath is the one that I am very excited for. Actually, the most excited for. Why? Because he can beat these ghost types. That's broken, bro. That's actually broken. They're supposed to beat him, but with Bubble, he can actually beat all three of these. Now, Drift Blim is a little bit iffy because you have to get the power-up punch and then the ice punch, right? But I'm not sure how that actually plays. If you get an ice punch without powering up, does that mean you kill it? I'm not sure, alright? But I'm gonna have to test it out in real life. Marowak, definitely, he beats that. Definitely. Dusclops, he also beats. Definitely. So yes, Poliwrath is looking really good. Now moving on to the last one, Lucario is also very exciting, right? Because he's got Shadow Ball. And because he's part Steel, he's not weak to the Confusion users, right? Like Medicham. It's neutral, okay? And he can actually beat Cresselia. It's also iffy like Medicham. You have to get the power up, Shield Bait, and then throw the Shadow Ball. But still, if you can pull it off, that's gonna be fantastic. Now, what I want you to know about the fighters here is that, well, their main job is to beat the Steel types, but a lot of these matchups, right, are very farmablish-ish. Is that a word in English? I'm sure that is not a word, but they're farmable-ish, right? Some are straight up farmable, some are not that straight up farmable, but there's always a chance for you to make extra energy, okay? And I want you to look into this, right? Think about the possibilities. Shadow Ball Lucario. Maybe you don't need Ice Punch on Poliwrath. Maybe you can get Hydro Pump to say what's up to the Psychic type coming in, or there's a lot of stuff that you can kind of like pull off with this, right? What if you run Psychic on Medicham? Another Medicham comes in on you, but you farmed already. Ba-bam! You know what I mean? There's actually a lot of like excitement. I feel really excited for these guys because they have like a farming potential. Now, what about alternatives for these three? I honestly didn't see any potential alternatives. Yes, Toxicroak, but he gets deleted by Confusion users. Yes, there's Blaziken, but he's not as good as the thing is, these guys have that factor, you know what I mean? I wanna try some weird freaky things, try to pull off some crazy stuff with maybe like a Psychic Medicham or like Hydro Pump on Poliwrath. I don't know, I'ma try it out, we'll see, but I feel like these guys are solid. If you have any alternatives, of course, try, test, sure. Don't be discouraged by the stuff that I say, but I'm just, I'm talking out of my feelings. Now we're moving on to the last group, the Psychic types. Honestly, we've already talked about them, right? We've already talked about their interactions, but just as a massive review for all of it, let's go through the whole thing again. So they lose to the Ghost, they have weird situations with the Steel types, and they supposedly beat the fighters, okay? Cresselia is the most dominant Psychic type in this group, and as you can see, I always put the most dominant Pokemon on the left, right? So it always goes left to right. So Cresselia beats Claydol and Gallade, Claydol beats Gallade, and same for the other groups, okay? So just to review, right? And I guess to show you all of this information in like a different perspective, right? From the Psychic perspective, Cresselia loses to the Ghosts. Okay, Cresselia beats Empoleon and loses to Steelix and Bastiodon. Cresselia beats the fighters except for Lucario, but it's iffy because he needs to land the Shadow Ball. Alright? Moving on to Claydol. Loses to the Ghosts. Loses to Empoleon, but beats Steelix and Bastiodon. Also beats the fighters except for Medicham, but it's iffy because he has to power up 2 times, right? Block the second power up punch and then land the twice powered up Ice Punch. And finally, Gallade, who is a Psychic type and a Fighting type, and so he gets bullied by the other Psychics for being half a meathead, but he's doing his own thing, alright? Now he loses to the Ghosts. He ties with Empoleon, but the thing is, Empoleon has to use 1 shield to tie, so it's more of a win, to be honest with you. He beats Steelix, Medicham, and all the fighters. Now this group here also has some farming potential. They also have some farmablish matchups, okay? Still not English? Okay, great. Yeah, but Medicham, definitely not. No, you don't want that guy powering up too much, so yes, kill him as fast as you can. Just throw the charge attacks. Now, the other two though, they have some farmable-ish potential with these 3, but they're still dangerous, so you definitely want to shield once, but you can farm them out, fast attack them away, and throw all that energy into the next Pokemon. Surprised you didn't mention the waifu of the year, alright? Gardevoir. Thing is, I'm confused about it. I'm really confused about it. Not in that way. I am confused about it if it's good, if it's good or not, if it's good or not, if it's, oh my god. Charm Gardevoir is looking pretty strong, but the thing is, historically, Charm hasn't done very well in the cups, right? So far. Is this the cup for the Charm Gardevoir to shine? I am not sure, okay? And again, just clarifying, not like that. The Sims look fantastic, right? There's also some farmable potential, so it's looking really strong. Plus, it can beat the ghost types, some of them, right? But yes, I just want to make sure first by testing out the waters, because another Pokemon in Season 1 also looked really good in The Sims, but came out kind of poopy, alright? So yeah, Charm users, I'm still iffy on them. Needs more testing. Surprised you didn't mention the Zong Zong! The Gong, alright? He's actually a bell, alright? Bronzong. He's looking okay. He's aight. But in the Sims that I've been running, he's looking pretty soft countery. And the thing is, I kind of like stay away from the soft counters. But if that's your style, sure. But just warning you, switching is a thing. There's a lot of things that you can do to just get around this guy with the fighters. So I don't recommend, but if it's your style, soft counter, sure. And that, my friends, is my Sinister Cup meta simplified. You can take a screenshot right here. Okay, nice. Funny thing, a guy hit me up. Well, I met a guy in a tournament, right? And then he said that his screenshots on his phone all had me doing this pose. So, pretty funny. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. Remember to leave a like, comment down below. Are you surprised that I didn't mention this Pokemon or this Pokemon? Comment down below, because there's a lot of side grades, alright? There's a lot of side grades. So again, while you're doing your simulations, okay, look for those little differences, little advantages, disadvantages, and then like fit them into the other Pokemon, because that's where the gold is. Okay, alright. Also, another thing for this last bit, right? For example, Gardevoir, Bronzong, kind of like whenever I'm talking from my feelings, don't take it as truth, right? Because those are just like my preferences. But you know, I'm always trying my best to never say anything that'll lead you down the wrong path, because I like it when you guys hit me up and you're like, yo, I won a tournament because of you, man. I'm like, hell yeah, high five in the internet, okay? So, you know, take it for what it is. It's just me talking out of my feelings. Also, me advising you as best as I can. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't yet, ding that notification bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys!